Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sandra Renee Stanley, and I'm coming to you today. We are coming back. We're so glad to be back after COVID with what are you going to do with that lemon? We have so many problems in this world, and one of the things that God put on my heart was to make sure to expose us and let's have conversations about things that we might be uncomfortable talking about in the church and uncomfortable talking about in the community. And one of our goals with Sandra Renee Stanley Ministries is to be involved with community development. And with community development, we have partners. We have partners that we cannot live without and collaborate with. So one of my dear friends and my sister, and we have found many ways to collaborate with, is Dr. Coyletta Govan. And she's here with me today. And we have been talking about for years how we want to share about the issues with poverty. Yes, and we cannot do good work in our community development without collaborating with partners. Mm-hmm. And I have my wonderful sister here, doctor, minister, counselor, coach, Coyletta Govan. And we're here to have the deep discussion. We want to get to the root of some things. We want to get to the lemon. We want to get to the core of the lemon and talk about poverty. And she's done many talks on it and working on a book right now. And she has life skills training that she does. And she has a couple of ministries that she works with. So, Dr. Coyletta, I'm going to pass you this lemon. I want you to talk about poverty. Share with us about what the poverty and how you and I have had these discussions early in the morning when I'm calling you. We have a burden. We have a burden on our heart for our community. We have a burden for the people, the clients that come and ask for rental assistance, that ask for food, they're coming out of prison. It's just not one thing. We have to try to connect them with all things that they need. So
that's right. Thank you so much. I am so glad that we have this opportunity to discuss poverty. Poverty, as big of a culprit as it is, it's really close. It's close to my heart. I'm an advocate for those individuals who may be suffering in the throes of poverty, right in the middle of it, not even knowing sometimes that they are in impoverished situations. But how we can help as community partners is to just know that and empower our brothers and sisters who are growing up in poverty, or who was born in poverty, or who have this dual diagnosis. And when I talk about dual diagnosis, now it's not a slight to anyone, but I was born with a dual diagnosis. I'm African American, or I'm black, and I was poor. But like a lot of black people didn't know that they were in poverty. And I was one of those, because poverty is not just the lack of finances. So you may be impoverished where finances are concerned, but so rich in so many other areas. And that's why I think sometimes, Dr. Renee, that people don't know that they're in poverty, because they're rich in love.
Amen.
Rich in family, rich in resources, where they can come together. Because a lot of individuals who grow up in poverty just put it all in a pot.
That's right.
And everybody shares, so everybody don't have lack. But like you said, after COVID, we have experienced a lot of poverty. But here's the deal that I am very interested in everybody knowing, that because poverty is not just finances, it is situational. Some people suffer from generational poverty, and some people suffer from situational poverty. And what I was bombarded with in my work was situational poverty. People who found themselves in a situation of poverty, not having the material resources that they need. And when they didn't have the material resources that they need, then they started to messing with their mental, and people became depressed. People were in despair. people were having such major problems, did not know what they were going to do because of the situation, and did not even consider it poverty. But again, one of the greatest ways that we can help individuals who are suffering any type of poverty is to be aware and to be available. To be available and to share with them solutions on how to navigate that culprit. You know, I liken poverty to a beast.
But you don't have to stay there.
No. You don't have to stay there because there are people who are advocating for you.
Like us.
Like us. That are advocating for you because we know that you don't have to stay there. I didn't stay there. Not where I wasn't aware of my surroundings. I wasn't aware of my financial situation or status. I grew up, and the more I grew, the more I knew, and I could navigate my, how do they call it? Economic, socioeconomic status. So I began to learn how to navigate it. And once you learn how to navigate it, then you don't have to stay below the poverty line.
And I think, too, for us, it was education. Even if it's a certificate to get you out, to pull you out where you could come a little bit over that economic line, going to school, getting a trade, doing something where you can make an end. But I was sharing with you how I had a client in one of our transitional homes, and she was sharing with the other ladies that how poor we were, me and my brother, William, how poor we were growing up because we went to the same school, we went to the Catholic school. And then the ladies, they didn't like it, so they were sharing it with me. And I thought that was so funny. I didn't get mad. I go, we were poor. We were poor. I didn't have a clue we were poor. And I called my brother on the phone. I said, did you know we were poor? And then he said, what? And so we could make it. I tell people now, we would live through a depression because our mothers, greens, beans, cornbread, those things we were raised up on. But let's talk about, I just had to share that. Let's talk about some of the things that have enabled our people with entitlement and expectations, and some of the things that just cripple them from the assistance or the expectations they want us to. Some people that come and ask for help, and we vet them. We just don't give you the assistance unless you really need it, and then how do you make it the next month? So let's talk about, because for me, with COVID and some of the stimulus money, some of that, I think those were enablers because people, I know people that quit their jobs. So I told you that tenants quit their jobs so they can get that money. And then once the money's gone, how many people got evicted once they lifted that? So would you share with me what you feel about your take on enabling, how things are enabled, how people are enabled, how we enable our children? In so many ways people have been enabled to stay in poverty. Many ways. And again, with poverty, when COVID came on the scene, it kind of inflated it, and they called it a stimulus check. A stimulus check. And when you grow up in poverty, or when you're not accustomed to having a great sum of money in your hand, or the opportunity, remember, you've been waiting on it. A lot of people who grow up in poverty are waiting for their ship to sail in, waiting to be included, waiting to have a Me Too moment. Me too. Well, when you get a stimulus check, if you don't understand who's being stimulated, then you're going to end up evicted. Because as soon as we got a stimulus check, some people who experience poverty were able to purchase or to be what they've always wanted to be. Right. So just help them get up a little bit. Yeah. Because I always wanted a flat screen TV. I always wanted a different kind of shoe, or I always wanted to live in a different kind of place, or I wanted to go on a cruise, and so when the government stimulated us,
That's what we did with the money, depending on where you were in your mind. Now, there were some people who got that stimulus money and stimulated their savings account. There were some people who got the stimulus money and invested it. But if you are not accustomed to having a chunk of money, so to speak, a couple of $1,000s at one time, you immediately go back to what you always wanted. What about your little children? Here's an opportunity for me to buy my baby something that they've always wanted.
Right.
I'm not thinking about that I can use this money because the economy is working a number on us, on our family, and we need this to start a savings account, or we need it to get in front of what's going to happen. Sometimes you can't think of that. So I'm an advocate for those individuals who seek to be included, but I'm also an advocate for us to kind of get a grip. Let's stop and think about kind of what's going on in the world around us, and how now we can add to society on the plus side. I think about a lot of times, Dr. Renee, about when do we want to get off the list? When do we want our income to not be below the poverty line? When do we want to serve our communities, giving instead of taking all the time?
Can we give it?
When am I able to give? And when you talk about entitlement, sometimes we feel like that we're entitled because we never did have it.
Oh, you owe me.
You owe me. And I teach that nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything. So with that being said, I taught my children, the world is not going to be overly kind to you. So you have to learn how to navigate in the world we live in, not the one you wish we lived in, not the one that you feel like owe you something, but the one that we do live in. How are you going to navigate in this world in the state that you're in?
Right.
However much money you make or how much you have, how are you going to make it work for you?
And I thought about too that when people come into our building, just how you represent yourself, because you never know when an opportunity is right there. I used to tell the people at the gatekeeper, you never know when a millionaire is going to walk in, or opportunity for a job. And I told the young man, he was so pleasant, but you got a do-rag on. What if I wanted to offer you a job because of what I just saw? But your appearance has to be better then, and even the pajamas, the bonnets, those things. What kind of signal are we seeing even by the dress that we have? And then you also teach about budgeting. So we talked about going to school, getting an education. And I just touched on appearance. For we don't have to look like we broke.
We don't.
Right? We don't have to look like we broke.
We don't.
And then programs like the ones you work with and opening doors for women in need, we have this outfit right here. It came from someone donated. So we don't have to look like where we are.
That's right.
So you have your budgeting class and your life skills. Let's touch on how you help people get better. And then also, if you want to go to school or job training and things, it's so much things out here now that we were talking about how the programs, and they have to have their numbers. These programs have to have their numbers.
Yes, to be one.
If they get government funding, they have to have their numbers. So why don't you take advantage and go do a forklift class, do a CDL class, go do medical coding, go do nursing classes, So, and then if you have issues, had issues that you've been delivered from, why can't you teach someone, be a counselor through your hurt? So tell us about your life skills classes, what you're teaching with that, because you've come here and taught classes with our ladies, and we help the men too with the Nehemiah Project. So tell us about those things you do.
that first program is called Lifestyle Management, and it came about as I was overseeing a women's transitional housing program. And when the women came to live with us, most were post-incarcerated. And the lifestyle that they lived was just fashioned or accessorized with post-incarceration, parole, group meetings, substance abuse, and all of the things that goes with that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Well, there's more life to post-incarceration and parole and probation and meetings and job searches and all of the things that is required of them. So what we began to do is add to the life. Let's add to your life. This is not the only life you get to live, just a life that's after jail or after prison. Mm-hmm. You have a family life, you have a personal life, you have personal well-being, you have education, you have faith, and you have community. So let's learn how to live in all of these areas at the same time. So that's how we began lifestyle management. So you can live your entire life at the same time. Let's just learn how to accessorize it and allot the time that goes with that area in your life. And it worked out. Now, of course, change is not that easy to acclimate to,
especially with grown-ups.
With grown-ups,
we call behavior modification. It's not easy.
And you would think that it would be, but I learned quickly that it wasn't. Mm-hmm. That here's an opportunity for you to live on this level, but you still can't manage it, or you have you withdraw, you have an apprehension to cross over, if you will, mm-hmm. to another lifestyle. Mm-hmm. But this is what I told the ladies. I said, I guarantee you that this lifestyle, it won't end up in prison. If you will adapt this lifestyle and accessorize your season, this season that you're in, this transition that you're in, this transformation season that you're in, if you would embrace it, changes will occur and you'll begin to live a life that you've never lived before. And so let's fashion it for the season you're in, and it's transitional. So everything you're going to do will have to do with your transition and your life. So let's accessorize it with what's necessary. If you're in school, you're going to have some study time. You're going to have study groups. You're going to go to school. If you are a faith-filled individual, you're going to have a Bible study. You're going to go to church. You're going to have a full life. And I can guarantee it, and I guaranteed it. If you will adapt to this lifestyle, I promise you, I guarantee you, you will not be a part of that recidivism. Mm-hmm. Nobody will get to expect for you in 3 years. You will not go back in 3 years. You're off the list.
Yeah, and I have a couple of women that give their testimony that they tell us how you help them with their notebook that you used. But let me ask about budgeting, because I'm finding that a lot of times when you're talking to people, even when they come in for rental assistance or they need now, of course, if they come in, if they're sick, they got cancer, this happened, they got laid off their job, those are immediate. Mm-hmm. So those other people that have immediate issues. So on the budgeting piece, trying to educate them on a budget, but then also I've seen that if you just show them on a budget where they're missing it, like cigarettes. You spending $140 a month on cigarettes, that was a big thing for us. Just showing them, not saying you don't smoke, but look, this is your budget money. This is where you're missing your money. I don't have enough money to move out. So what are you seeing with because I know you give them a budget sheet, so tell us about that. Okay,
budgeting is your buddy. That's how I start off. Sometimes people think that budgets are boring. Budgets are your budget or your buddies, and they produce boundaries and they set perimeters for your earnings. Okay, so it's a plan for your spending, and you will be able to see that you really have the finances for your whole life, the life that you want to live. You have the finances for it, but we have to allocate those finances where they go. Well, you have to have your living made first. Let's make our living, and let's put it on our budget and allocate the funds. And I have had many women who were so excited, and there was a sigh of relief when they found out I do have enough money. Some people don't think they make enough money to budget, but in all actuality, you do. You make enough, or you earning enough for your life. Now, the problem comes in a lot of times, guys, when you're living in a place that you shouldn't be living in, or you're living above your means. And what a budget does is help you to streamline your lifestyle. So let's live where we are. Now, like you mentioned those cigarettes. Well, if you're using your rent money, or you're using your clothing allowance, or you're using your food money to buy your cigarettes, then we might have to just kind of reallocate some of those funds, and you may have to smoke a little bit less.
Yeah.
Nobody's taking your smoking away from you.
We're not telling you that.
But we're teaching you how to smoke on a budget.
Smoke on a budget.
We teach you how to smoke on a budget, or how to have entertainment on a budget. You can fund your whole life if you have a budget, and then you won't be miserable when you don't have money for something, because you can have it if you intend to.
Yeah.
I used to teach the ladies, you can have that if you intend to, and you can lay aside finances. You may not have it the first check. You might have to add a few checks together, but look at the hope that goes with that.
Look at it.
You'll eventually have it, and you learn how to boss Bill instead of Bill bossing you. I call that the dollar bill.
The dollar bill.
The dollar bill. And Bill been bossing long enough.
That's right.
So we're not going to continue to let dollar bill boss us. We're going to boss dollar bill. How can we do that? We can tell Bill just where to go.
Yes, ma'am. In the savings account.
Yes.
So that's on that note. Savings, because like me, I just said I was cheap because I just turned the air conditioner on, but I love saving money for me versus some people have little vices like a bag or the nails or other things, shoes or things like that. I want to have some money in the bank. I want to have some capital in the bank. So if I want to buy a raggedy house to fix up, or if I want to be able to pay cash for what I'm doing. So that's a different way. So maybe everybody can't do that. So let's talk about, even just in what I saw with the ladies, is that with the money, when they save it on their own without us teaching them, they'll go back and get it out of the bank and give it to the first person that asks for help. So now you're in a transitional home, and some your cousin or the baby, whoever's taking care of your children, of course that's your heartstrings, your children. They go get that money. So that's money for you to move and get into your own place. So I found out that just doesn't work in the first 6 months. But once they see that they can save money, they're very successful at saving money, and they usually take that with them. Right. But you got, like you said, you got to be able to navigate bill and manage that bill, because you can't do anything without some capital. Even buying a home with Habitat, you got to save some money for that home. It's affordable, but do you have money in the bank? So how are you telling them, okay, so I'm poor, they saying these words out of their mouth, which we can't speak that negativity into our life. You're not poor, you're rich. And so how do we teach them to save money to get better?
Okay, one of the things that we do is we have to change that narrative. A lot of people who grow up in poverty, and like you mentioned, if I have it, you have it. I think it's Ruby K. Payne who have this list of hidden rules, and one of the characteristics of a person in poverty is the family aspect. People in poverty are family oriented. And if you have it, I have it. And so we have to start changing the narrative. I have it, but I have it for us. I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to grow it, and I'm going to teach you how to grow it. Because if I have it and I keep giving it to you, then we both stay in this state. So we have to change that narrative and change the way we think about our finances, think about money, because I hear it all the time. If you don't have family, who do you have? You know, you think that since you got that, you on top of the world or something, or you know, it's that negativity and that narrative that we grew up with. If you don't have family, you don't have anything. Well, I gotta do it. Because it's my family. What you gotta do is save something so that you leave a legacy.
You're leaving that legacy, and that's biblical.
That's what you got to do. Is you got to save, and you have to be a good steward over the finances that God gives you for your inheritance, for your family's sake. The scripture even says that we are to leave an inheritance. Grandparents leave an inheritance for our children's children, which are our grandchildren. And sometimes, for me, y'all don't have any children yet because I don't have this inheritance set up like it's supposed to be. Hold up. I got a lot of grandkids right now. But the way that we think about money, we co-sign, and the scripture tells us not to be a surety for anyone. We have to teach one another. We have to teach our family how to live within our means and not give it all away. And we teach each other, like I said earlier, a budget is a boundary. And if you are a giver, like you said, if I have a heart to give, and I've got the gift of giving. I told one young lady that I was ministering to, well, we need to put your heart on a budget.
Right.
We need to put your heart on a budget. And
you can't lack.
Yeah.
You can't lack. If you're giving it all away, you can't lack.
You can't. If you are a giver, save for it. I mean, I had a young lady who was giving in the dollar store. I saw a family, and the kids wanted this and the kids wanted that, and I just gave it to them. I just gave it to them, and I said, "You did? You gave it to them? Where'd you get the money? Did you budget for it? Was it on the budget?" Well, no. I thought, well, let's think again. Let's think about this gift that God has given you. He's given you a heart to give. Because everybody don't have the gift of giving. Some people could see those kids falling out in the street and falling out in the dollar store and walk right on back past them and not give them $1. But you couldn't do that. So because you couldn't do it and you can't do it, you need a account for your heart.
Let's talk about housing, because Fort Worth is on the top of the list but one of the most exclusive places for people to move. We got people moving here from California because the cost of living, like my son lives here, we can get a house in Mira Vista for what they pay for like a nice house. So, but a lot of people, I think when they are in, what I've seen from a landlord, they take advantage of those little mom and pops that's really trying to help with you and work with you, and then the taxes in Tarrant County and Fort Worth have gone up. So it's so hard for landlords and owners. You need to understand that, people, that it's so hard for them to maintain it, pay the taxes, and then if you get a bad tenant, it just puts a bad taste in your mouth. And so when you have a good landlord, you need to, and take care of the people's properties, take care of the properties. That's one of the biggest things I could share with you from my side. And so how do we teach people how to be more considerate of their landlords and pay your rent and have conversations, communicate. If you can't pay your rent, you need to go and communicate. Now, the apartments and things, 3 days you get a notice. So I work with a network of landlords, and this is what they're seeing. And some of them are putting their houses on housing, and some of them don't want to deal with housing. So housing, Section 8, that's why when you get a voucher, you can't find a place because the landlords are fed up. And then after COVID, people didn't even want to deal with that because of the mortuariums, and some of the landlords were going broke because they wasn't getting paid. That wasn't fair. That wasn't fair. So how do we do this with you get a place and you rent it, and then you get evicted. So you and I are dealing with a lot of people that are coming in that have an eviction notice. They wait till the last minute, first of all, to ask for resources, and they're getting evicted, and then more people, if you look at the statistics for Fort Worth, are homeless because of that. With children, with babies.
Yes.
So, how do we help them?
Well, we have to always be in a mode of empowerment and teaching. If you are a landlord or you are an owner of a residence that you are leasing or renting to someone, you're going to always be teaching. And when you give a lease, you have to stand by that. And always, when every time they pay the rent or they don't pay the rent, they have to get what it gets, the consequences.
Consequences.
It's the consequences. And so many landlords and apartments, I mean, it's just so much grace that is being given.
Grace.
And a lot of people don't know how to handle the grace.
They take advantage of the grace.
You said it.
I said that. They take advantage of the grace.
Okay, you said it. So a lot of people don't know how to handle that. So we have to be able to monitor it. You know, and we keep on giving benefits of the doubt. We can't. Now, people have learned how to move into where they live, but they don't know how to stay there.
How to maintain it.
They don't know how to stay. They don't know how to maintain it. So I used to teach a lesson about moving in on a special. Anybody can move in on a special, but we have to be able to look at that budget and look at that individual's ability to pay going forward. And if they cannot demonstrate themselves that they cannot maintain that rent, then we have to take that loss. Then our house stays on the market a little bit longer. And then what does that do? That begins to teach potential residents what they're going to need to be able to live here. But we get, as landlords and as apartment complexes we get a little lax. And sometimes we have a little desperation on us. And if a person can get in, then we hope they can stay.
Yeah.
But what we want to do going forward in this teach mode that we're in is look at their portfolio. Where have you lived? How long did you live there? I don't have a job. How long haven't you had a job? If you haven't had a job
how'd you pay your rent?
Over 30 days, you didn't. Now, some people know how to live everywhere. They just know how to do that, know how to live everywhere. But if you are a landlord and you want to help in this population of homelessness, we've got to do our homework. And once you do your homework, then the community will learn, hey, we got to step back and take a look at what we're going to need. Because if you say you haven't had a job, you don't have a job, how long haven't you had a job? And then you're able to prove that you couldn't find a job because you have a trail. You've brought me a trail. Miss Sandra, I have not had a job. I haven't been able to find a job in 3 months, and I need some help. I have exhausted my savings account. I have borrowed money from families and friends, and I need some assistance in either finding a place or paying the rent where I am. And then you're going to look at that. You're going to say, so you haven't had a job. How many job interviews have you been on? How many job applications do you have in your queue? When is your next interview? Because a person who doesn't have a job, finding one is a job.
Yeah.
So you should be able to justify or to submit the supporting documents that go with your situation. That's what I tell people all the time. Hey, whatever your situation is, it should have some paper with it. And if it has the paper with it, then you're more apt to be rented to, given money, for your rent. But if you don't, the assistance, you're more apt to get help. But
the receipts.
Yes.
Show us the receipts.
Show us the
receipts.
Show us the receipts. If you can do that, and I've learned this, that everyone who needs assistance for real have all the paper that goes with it.
They do.
And
they don't have a problem coming in here, filling out an application.
No, they can produce
and produce those things, because you have to be transparent. We're just not going to give you assistance for nothing, with nothing. We're not going to do it. Because we're accountable. I am accountable to you guys, and you're accountable to us. And so we have a responsibility, and we want to stay in business. to continue. We have stakeholders that trust us to do the right thing when we're assisting people, and that's what we want people to get. And we want our people to be successful.
Yes, and as believers, as Christian organizations, and being ambassadors for Christ, we have a responsibility to Him to be a good steward of what He has given us to manage. You know, Scripture even says that we don't earn wages only to put them in pockets with holes in them. And it gives us an opportunity to even teach that.
Ooh, I love that.
Every opportunity to assist somebody is an opportunity to share the gospel. Every opportunity. And to point them back to God, that this is the result of maybe a prayer you prayed. This is the result of God's grace and His mercy, because He's after your attention. It's always an opportunity. So individuals who are in the help ministry, in the ministry of helps, or, you know, being on the empowerment end of things, it's our responsibility to know how to distribute the grace of God, to distribute His love unconditionally and without judgment.
Without judging.
And without judgment.
And we have to teach that too. We have to teach our staff when they come in the door. If it's someone, if they have an odor, well, don't, you know, if you go get them a hygiene and just offer it. Don't insult them, but offer them. And so we got a lot of work to do.
We got a lot of work to do.
And we need to continue to lift each other up. And like you said, I love that we have Chaplain Jonita here now at the staff, as part of our staff. She's been volunteering for us for 20 years. But she brings so much to the table with her prayer, because she's praying with everyone on the phone, offering them prayer when they come in the door on the phone. We hadn't had that opportunity because we were short staffed and we just didn't have that person at that door. So now she's at that door and she's offering, and they're calling her back with those prayer reports you're talking about.
Yes.
And I love that. So we can't leave that out as Christians. And we can't judge. We can't judge people. We have to offer them and just listen, be a good listener to see what they need. And we're going to keep doing good work together, aren't we?
We are.
And I'm excited because I want you to do some more life skills training with us here.
I'll be glad to.
So I'll be glad to do that with you. And hey guys, so we are here and we're glad to be back after COVID. We're glad to be back, and we're going to be coming with topics that they're not talking about in church. I mean, I know you guys, it's a lot of podcasts on, it's a lot of YouTubes on, but we want to come from a Christian faith-based point of view and bring some good information to uplift someone that might be struggling. And if you have a lemon that's there, we want you to take that lemon and use it for, make some lemonade once you have the solution.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. So bless you. Thank you. If you need prayer, opening doors for women in need, you can call us here if you need that. Or you want to tell them about your women's conference that's coming up?
Well, sure. DFW City Women, along with our community partners, will be collaborating and hosting our Time to Flutter, April 6, 2024, downtown Fort Worth. A Time to Flutter is an opportunity for the community to come together and to gather as a kaleidoscope. And the theme is always around butterflies, because, you know, when you see a butterfly, you have to know it didn't start that way. And so when we come together, we flutter together, we learn together, and we express the gifts that God has given us individually and then collectively. And we come, from all over the Metroplex. We have gifts of teaching gifts, and we have singing gifts, and we have preaching gifts, and we have entrepreneurs, we have business, you name it, we have it. And it is centered around a way station for a butterfly. If you know anything about butterflies, a way station exists for a butterfly to complete the entire metamorphosis. Everything it needs is there.
Well, tell them about the network meeting. I really enjoy your network meetings you have once a month.
Once a month, we do have DFW City Women. City Women is communities in Texas empowering women. And now men and children, and we come together every second Saturday of the month so that we can collaborate, so that we can network, and we can find out what's going on in the city and where what is, so that we have what our clients need or what our family members need, because no one person or no one entity has it all. So we don't want to be guilty of an I don't know. Right. So we come together to know. And everybody's invited.
That's right. And I can't tell you how many times that people in that group had need, a nonprofit or a ministry had a need for a ministry, and that need was taken care of before they left that day. So once again, Sandra Renee Stanley Ministries, and what are you going to do with that lemon? And we'll be back to you soon, continuing to bless you with information. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.